if choosing happiness means choosing divorce, then I am all for it, because everybody deserves to live life in their most fulfilled, happiest, most joyful way. It doesn't, happiness doesn't equate to having two parents in a household. Happiness is when you can be happy, even if that means you being by yourself. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Power in the Pause podcast. It's so great to have you guys here today. As a reminder, do not forget to hit subscribe so that you do not miss a single episode that comes out every single week. And it would mean the world to me if you would also please leave a 5-star rating and a review so that more people can find this podcast. So let's dive in, shall we? So today's episode, I am joined by Keni Silva. Hello, Keni. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you?
I'm so good. And I'm really excited to have you here today because you guys, we are going to talk about how Keni navigated her life's unforeseen pause that unveiled her strength as a mom. And we're going to dive into that topic in just a second. I want to share a little bit more with you all about Keni. So Keni is a former model and an Orange County socialite. She works in real estate while also moonlighting as a friend on the Real Housewives of Orange County. She has become a red carpet notable, including this year's LACMA Gala, and is quickly growing as a press favorite. And she is currently working on a book about her high-profile divorce, making it about helping women everywhere and disrupting the scary one-sided process of divorce by writing a guidebook on all the things that you need to know how to break up successfully. And she is also a mom, and she is on the other side of her divorce and wants to empower other women. And we are going to talk about how it is that she can empower each and every one of you guys here today through a story that she is going to share with us. So Keni, it is a pleasure to meet you. It is a pleasure to have you here today. And I know that you have navigated many life transitions to date. I mean, you were not born in this country. You moved here when you were very young. I know you met your ex-husband and you had children, and you've been through one life transition after another. But the one that I wanted to talk with you about specifically today was about that moment when you received the news of your daughter's adrenal tumor diagnosis. And so I would love to have you take us back to that moment and how it was that it really forced you to embrace the pause of that news coming in. So please share with our audience today what that was like and what you went through in that moment.
Thank you. Exactly as you said, I've been through so many things in my life, and my life to me is just go, go, go. It's never actually pause until you said it. I'm like, wow, okay. Like, what was the pause in my life? And I remember till this day, I was driving in the car and the doctor called me, and I was pulling into my garage, and she's like, well, we got the blood results. And just judging by the blood results, your daughter probably has adrenal tumor. And I remember in that moment, I just stood and I cried. And I rarely cry. Like, this was the first time I cried. The second time I cried when I dropped her off at the surgery. I just there's something you expect something can be wrong, but to hear that it's adrenal tumor and it's probably pretty large. It was very large. So the doctors right away said it's probably stage 2 cancer because it was 10 centimeters. And it's just, to me, it's like, how could it happen? And as a mom, at least for me, I always feel my kids. I always know when something is wrong. And the first thought was like, I would have felt something is wrong. I would have felt something is going to happen. And then immediately the second thought is like, oh my God, she just went through divorce, because as you know, that kids suffer with you going through divorce. It's a big change for them too. And then, learning to live in 2 homes, and it's a big survival skill, that they inherit for the rest of their life. But it's been like a year after I got divorced on April the year before. And in March, she was diagnosed. And I was like, oh my God, why my little girl has to go through all these things? Like, give it to me. Like, I'll take it for her because I know I hide pain very well, emotional and any kinds. It just, I don't know. It's just something that I was raised like that. You show your strength. You don't show when you hurt. And to me, I was like, how can I help her? It's outside my box. It's not something I can hug her and kiss her. And how would I even tell her? How do you tell your daughter, she was 14 at the time, that she has adrenal tumor that can be cancer? And that she's going to have to go through the surgery and potentially chemotherapy because, and my ex-husband is a doctor. So he right away, the moment they told us it's adrenal tumor, and that's what he gave me the whole prognosis of where can it be. And it's like, at one point, I remember telling him, I don't want to know. Like in the back of my mind, I knew, and thank God it's not cancer. In the back of my mind, I knew it's not going to be something like it's not going to be cancer, but you don't want to say these things because what if you're wrong? And right. What if you misjudge the situation? And, but I couldn't take all the information he was giving me because the doctors don't really, they give you what can happen. But because my ex is a doctor, he gave me full statistics. And if this is this and the survival rate and the chances for this, I couldn't handle it. And I can handle a lot, but knowing this about your child, and this is, I remember, okay, like I'm going to just day by day. So what's the strategy? So we had to do all this MRIs. We had to do an emergency. We went to CHOC as an emergency inpatient because they needed to do all the checks on her. And I remember going and I'm like, and I told my ex, I'm like, let's just tell her she has a cyst. Let's not scare her, because we don't know yet what it is. And I don't want her to start thinking all these things until we know exactly what it is. But now she tells me, she's like, Mom, do you know they admitted us on floor 5? It's a cancer floor. Every time we would walk around, I see, like everything about cancer, or this kid died, or I see kids with, no hair. And she said that actually was the scariest time of my life, not knowing what's happening with me. Mm. Because she's like, I remember the first night in the hospital, I started thinking, because I see all this, and I spend every night with her in the hospital, after the surgery, before the surgery, during all the testing. And she's like, she's like, Mom, I remember that night I was laying in bed and I was thinking like, is this it? Is my life over? Like, what's happening with me? And she told me ever since that, she's like, Mom, never hide anything from me, because not knowing is scarier than knowing and hoping for the best. So we talk, and she communicates with me amazingly. And I guess we learned that during divorce, like express our feelings and, and obviously I have a girl and a boy. Girls talk much more and they open up. If you're willing to listen, they will open up. So, yeah. And that was the journey that we both kind of bonded in the sense we started realizing both, because it was hard for her to go through divorce, but now she was in a moment where she started seeing things in a different color. She started seeing the beauty of life. So as I, like everything, because in my book, Divorce as an Opportunity, I say divorce is not the end. It's actually the beginning of your next life. And you have to start preparing during it. And to me, of course, as every woman going through divorce, there is times when you're like, am I doing the right thing? You start doubting, and, because you see the pain your children go through. Even inside, you're not happy and you want something different. But you start doubting yourself because you love that you see the pain you cause to other people. And you're like, am I entitled to actually happiness? Am I entitled to happiness and make these people suffer? But now when this whole thing happened, I realized, you know what? The time is so precious. You can have the most perfect, beautiful life. And then something like this will change, and happen. And you would never expect it. And then I would rather spend my life enjoying it every day, and something happened, at least that it was worth, your life was worth something. Like now I love empowering women and tell them and help them. That's what makes me happy. I realized that there's so much time I spend on doing things I don't want to do. Like, I don't want to say no to go into an event because I don't want to, I don't want people to be upset, or I don't want. And now after that moment, I realized, you know what? All these things are so not important. Not only it's not important to me, but even for these people, they would forget if I didn't go. And I started realizing, what do I actually want in my life? Well, it made me reassured that what I did, my divorce, was a correct decision, even if it was painful. But every change is painful, as we know. But it was right. It was the right decision. And then my daughter is an amazing girl because she's been singing since she was the age of 6. She actually wrote a song, "The Fight's Not Over Yet," about her whole experience. And in her lyrics, she said, "I will beat the odds." And she did. So because she has an amazing support group, we filmed the music video 3 days before her surgery. So the 3 days she got to experience, and this song "Fight's Not Over Yet" on every platform. It's, every musical, Apple Music, all the platforms. And she was so occupied with, after, of course, we told her what's happening, this is what it is. And she actually did the whole video the day before the surgery. "Hi guys, I have adrenal tumor. Tomorrow I'm going into surgery," because she's a big also advocate right now for young girls and teenagers. She showed her pain, but she also showed that, hoping and believing and putting and helping, it's a beautiful thing. And she has a big scar on her stomach, but she's very proud of it. And she spent the whole summer going, to all the areas into bathing. So she's like, "Mom, 10 people a day ask me this." And I said, "How do you handle it?" "I would never do this. I'm not that kind of person." But she does. And she's like, "Mom, I'm so used to it. But the one good thing, the girl, she had like appendix removed and she had little scar. And after seeing mine, she didn't care about hers anymore." And, and I'm so proud that, in these days where teenagers use all these apps to make them beautiful, and especially after the pandemic when all the teenagers had to wear a mask, that, and it's everything right now is body conscious, how you look, how you perceive. She's so open about her experience and to show the scars. Yes, I'm not like everybody. I have a scar, but I'm alive. That's what's the most beautiful thing. You might be the most beautiful person, but your life is wasted on things that don't really matter. And that's when, we both realized it was a journey. Actually, it was her journey, but it made me realize so many things. It made us bond on so many, she, I guess, realized why I did what I did. Why I now want to help other women. And she helps, teenagers and advocates for, she has a foundation, Fight's Not Over Foundation, for also kids who go through cancer or just like her adrenal tumor or any other tumor. So I'm this whole moment of life, because as I told you before, I don't stop. I don't see obstacles in my life as something like, okay, I need to pause for a minute, and figure out what to do. I don't have that in me. I'm always go, go, go. And before I know I hit the obstacle, I'm already mentally on the other side of obstacle, knowing I'm going up, and at first I'm going to go down, then I'm going to go up. I even, when I talk to my daughter, I always tell her, like, if you think about every moment in your life, even when it was the most, hardest moment, like the divorce for you. But out of divorce, I ran into my friend, Damon Elliott, and you started your music career. There's always something good comes out of something bad. You just have to concentrate on the good, not on the bad, and then make the best out of it, and I'm a big believer of a positive thinking. And it's not just the manifesting, because manifesting in my mind is just you sit and you think about things. It's actually doing things, and planning things and really looking for, in your life, those moments that were good after something bad happened. So you can see how life is like a roller coaster. You go up, you go down, but that's what you made out of it at the end.
You've said so many powerful things, and I want to highlight a couple of them. You both clearly navigated this very unexpected occurrence in life, and it reshaped your priorities. It reshaped your perspective. And I think that that's so hard for so many women, especially, is, and even as a mom, right? Because as you said, like, we're mama bears. We want to protect our kids. We don't want anything bad to happen to them. We want it to happen to us. But what I think is so beautiful that both you and your daughter navigated simultaneously is you both navigated your experiences together, held space for what each other was going through, but you guys saw what was on the other side. And how, like, I'm curious to know, I'm sure you guys were close even before this, but how has your relationship with your daughter even shifted in terms of like your priorities with your kids, or even just as a mom? How has all of that changed for you guys?
Since I share my kids with my husband, with my ex-husband 50% of the time, my priority, even when I got divorced, I told my children, just because, we got divorced, you still have a mom. I'm always going to be there for you. Even when you're with your dad, but you forget something, you need something, I'll be there. And I'm always that, I always do that. If they call me like, Mom, we forgot a book, or can we stop by and get something, or can you bring me food? I remember those things. I was always there. But I think, and because I only have them 50%, I already feel like I don't see them 100% of the time. But now I feel like after that moment, it's not just being with them, it's spending and talking. It's actually that quality time, I guess they call it.
Right.
When you actually get to know, not just doing homework, or you actually talk to them. And because me and my daughter, we drive once a week to LA for her music. So this is our kind of time to talk. And sometimes I'm amazed. She's only 15, but she's so mature in her thinking. And, like I tell her things like my career wise, and she's like, oh, Mom, you should do this. Or like this morning, I'm like, Alexis, what are the trends on TikTok? Because she knows all of it. She's becoming like my guide because, obviously the time changed. So when I was growing up, there was no Instagram or TikTok. I don't even know how to navigate this Zoom thing. For me, it's different. But I realize now, and it matters to her. That's why I realized it's not just asking, like, okay, what's your homework? What did you do? It's not the conversation the kids expect from you. She loves to talk about not just her friends, but when I ask her advice, it validates that she knows something, that I don't. And I think it makes any child happy when, they can be a help to us too. And this is how it's like now this weekend, they're going to be with me. And I'm like, oh, Alexis, let's go watch a movie about Beyonce because it's music. And then we discuss it. And it's like, she wanted to go, we're going to go to New York. So it's a quality time. And I realized that it's so important after, especially she told me, I don't want you to hide ever anything. So we talk about the good, the bad, in between, and of course, she's a 15-year-old teenager. And, it's two girls, like any two girls. We have good moments, we have bad moments.
Yes, we were 15 at one point. We remember being there.
Yes, but the thing is, I grew up in Moscow in Russia. I could never talk to my parents like this. This is just, I grew up in a different generation where even my mom was my best friend, but she was a superior to me. So I had different rulings, and I'm not saying it's just we live in a different time and where schools don't even encourage kids to be respectful to adults. So it's different. I have amazing kids. I don't have problems with them, but still, once in a while it happens.
It does. And, and I'm curious to know as well, I also co-parent, I share my kids 50%. And what I have noticed is in moments when our kids are going through really hard times, especially health related issues, it really brings you closer together to your co-parent. And, I don't care where anybody is at in their relationship with their co-parent. It's about the kids, right? Divorce is something that happens between the two of you. It's not something that happens to your kids. They're still going to be, mother, you're still mom, he's still dad. So how did your relationship with your kid's dad, your co-parent, how did that get impacted by this diagnosis and sort of the process of, watching your daughter go through this together? Like, what happened in your co-parenting relationship that either shifted your relationship or further strengthened it?
About a year ago, we actually kind of had a big talk. and let's say we became best friends again. We put past in the past, the divorce. It took us like 6 months and we became best friends. So we're already, and her surgery happened in March. So it was 4 months after that. So we already were in a great standpoint of, being great co-parents, being friends. And I've been with my ex-husband since 23. I've been for 16 years. I grew up with him. And that's what I told him, even it was my initiative to leave. But I'm like, you're my family. I don't have another one. Like, I grew up with you. You're always going to be there. I'm always there for you. You're always there for me. But I actually think that during her, her whole journey of, getting the surgery and the diagnosis, actually we had tension because I think we both didn't expect this and we didn't want to blame each other, obviously, but it was just so much emotional that we couldn't believe. And there was little things that we were just over emotional. At some point I remember I said, listen, I don't want to argue with you. I know you experiencing the same emotions as I. And as you know, men can express them. I can say, you know what? Oh my God, I'm crying. Like, I don't know, like, how's this fair? But I know guys don't talk, so they just skip it. So for it was not the ideal situation. I mean, we were there for each other. We were there in the hospital. We were there, seeing each other more than usual, which was unusual. Yeah. But I think it was just very sensitive for both of us because it was just, we both were shocked what's happening and we didn't want to blame. And of course, we all had thoughts like, are we the reason for that? So like, is this something like, why? So I don't think it was the best moment in our relationship. Actually after that, it went back to normal being, normal, friendly, because every time there would be something off, we both were, and we, of course, like I used to, I was with Alexis for 2 weeks in a hospital. So I was sleep deprived. I was, and we would take shifts. So it took a toll on us too. But thank God it's over and we back into a normal relationship. But I don't know. It didn't make us closer because we were already close enough. Yeah. We were close enough where we need to be. We know,
and that's great. And I'll tell you, like, I appreciate your honesty and I appreciate your candor and you being vulnerable and saying that, it was actually hard for us, and I don't think a lot of people allow themselves to be vulnerable and to say that. And I agree with you. I mean, I find so similarly, my ex-husband and I, we are very close friends now, better than we were probably than we were married. We were married for 15 years. And, the last couple of years of our marriage, we weren't friends until we got divorced and worked through, all of that fun stuff. But I don't think a lot of people, I think people expect that, really pivotal moments that happen in our life are moments that, oh, this should bring you guys closer together. When in actuality, sometimes it does kind of cause like a little bit of a rift, but it's also a testament to the strength of your friendship that you guys were able to get back to that. And you just, let this be kind of a blip on the screen and a moment in time where you guys were, what I'm hearing is you guys were doing your best given what was handed to you. And I'm hearing that, there were even more insights and lessons that you learned as you were navigating this. And I'm curious to know how that has impacted your ability to be vulnerable, right? Your ability to be resilient. Maybe it's about the approach to your life. Can you talk a little bit about how that's impacted those areas?
You see, I remember when we just got the diagnosis, and I remember for me, I didn't want to tell anybody because I'm a kind of private person. I'm like, I suffer myself and I don't want even not that many people knew when I was going through divorce, not that many friends. Until even when I was divorced, not that many people knew, especially, kids. Like, I just don't think it's anybody's business. Sure. So my ex-husband actually had a different approach. And that's where I think we had differences. He wanted the world to know, and he believes in the power of prayer, which I do too. But to me, it was like, wait, let's just figure things out. And this is where I think we had the differences, And then I said, well, we should ask Alexis because it's her journey. We can't just be like, what she wants to do. And she was very open to it. So she was very open to talk about it. But that's where Even today I said, Alexis, can I please talk about you? Because I'm the kind of person that I have to respect everybody's ground. And to me, if it happened to me, I would never say it. I would never even tell it, maybe too close of my friends, my mom, but I would never discuss it to the world, this journey. And I think it's because I was born in Russia and we kind of were raised differently, not to show the pain and vulnerability. It's life, it happens, but I feel like American society just very different. And especially I feel like right now, and I'm not saying anything, it just, I see how in school they bring up all these subjects, like so many kids have ADHD and an anxiety disorder and all these things, to the point where kids want to have something wrong with them in a sense, because then they're like everybody else. So I think the ability comes from this society being so open. It's like it's okay and I think it's amazing, that you can be so open and everybody supports you. I was just raised differently. So for me to be so open, it took actually a little bit of time. I did during my divorce, I did brain therapy. And I usually never cry, Only after I did the course of 2 years of brain therapy, which changed my whole brain thing, I started crying. Instead of screaming, I would release and start crying, which, it actually feels sometimes very good to relieve it or to say things I would never say, because, when you hold everything inside, it's not good. And it causes different things. Now we know that stress can kill you because
health issues, yes, not good.
So, it just, I guess I got into being open is okay. And that's what I learned. And maybe because when I was going through divorce, I saw a lot of my friends didn't support me for different reasons. So maybe that was also the reason why I didn't want to share it so much. And now when it's over, and I really don't care, because this is my journey. If it makes me feel good to say it, that's what I'm going to do. That's why I'm saying the whole realization came. It's not about anybody's opinion. It's not what they want me to see or to do. It's about me. If it makes me feel good, then I'll be open. If it doesn't, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to open up. But that's where the whole shift. I don't want to be what they expect of me. I don't want to do the things I should be doing because somebody else is thinking. It's all about me, how I'm feeling about it. And at night when I go to sleep, I know I did it because I wanted to do it.
Right. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I feel like so many people don't. First, they want to say they're sorry. And then it's, they don't understand what it's like living your life, right? And you're the one who has to wake up every day and look at yourself in the mirror and choose happiness. And what I have always said is that if choosing happiness means choosing divorce, then I am all for it, because everybody deserves to live life in their most fulfilled, happiest, most joyful way. It doesn't, happiness doesn't equate to having two parents in a household. Happiness is when you can be happy, even if that means you being by yourself. And I think that it is so important for so many people to hear that, because I think that as women, we, and you've talked about this in other interviews that even I've listened to, where, it's like you want to stay for the kids, right? And, I know that, you also, when you were growing up, right, you had parents that you didn't necessarily think should be together. And, I went through moments where I was like, I should stay for the kids, but then is that really the best for them? And so I just want to take a minute and reiterate that point, that it is so incredibly important. And honestly, it is so courageous of you to choose yourself. I don't think a lot of people have the power to do that. And so I commend you wholeheartedly for having the courage to choose yourself and to know that that was what was in the best interest, not just of you, but for your kids, and ultimately also for your ex-husband. I mean, he gets to be happy. He gets to have the life that he wants as well. So I just wanted to take a moment and just commend your courageousness, because I've been there and I know, like, it's a hard decision to make. And it's so easy for other people to judge or to comment on it when, you know, you don't get it unless you go through it. So I just wanted to.
Exactly right. And, you know, one day my daughter was telling me like, Mom, but I didn't choose the divorce. And I said, Alexis, I understand you now have two households, but really, what did you lose? You still have a family unit. You still have a mom and a dad. Yes, you have two homes. And I understand it's very inconvenient to move from one home to another, but you still have that family unit. I said, Alexis, I lost a husband. Yes, it was my choice, but I still lost a family member. And you have to understand that I'm going through grieving too, you know, that I'm missing that too. You're not alone. Yes, that was my choice. But when you're going to be a little bit older, you will understand why I did it. Yeah. And obviously, after everything happened, she started realizing, you know, things. But that's what I'm saying. It's exactly as you said for children. And I realize it's not two parents being in the home, because I tell my kids, what about the kids that have no parents? What do you think their life is? Or they only have one, or you know, it's not. And that's why, you know, it's when I started thinking about it, like, okay, we all growing up, it's the love you give them.
Yes.
It's understanding, it's the time. And I know so many people that have two parents at home and they never see their parents because the parents don't care about children. Yeah. You know, it's the same thing, like you said, you know, like our related. I think because it's just a picture perfect, like that. If you have that people think the kids are happy. It's the same thing, like a lot of girlfriends I have, they want to have a children thinking, okay, now their life is going to be good and they're going to be happy with their husband. And I say, you know, kids don't bring two adults together. If anything, if you're fighting now, wait till you're going to have kids. You're going to go opposite directions. You know, kids are testing for you. That's why it's like you said, like actually this moment's like, you know, having our daughter sick made us go, like show us the differences we have. So all those things are not going to bring you back. And when you start realizing, and and it all comes with experience and going through things. But I think the most important thing, make notes for the future. Okay, this didn't work out. This is like to look for the next time.
Exactly. And I mean, if anything, I mean, the journey that you have been on, you know, both through your divorce and also through your daughter's diagnosis, I mean, clearly this journey has influenced, you know, how you show up, what your outlook is, and, you know, the importance, the weight of what you've put as being at the forefront of being important in your life, you know, I think that it's reprioritized things for you. It's clearly reprioritized your daughter's life. And so I'm curious to know how all of this has influenced your ability to find strength within these difficult and, of course, unexpected moments.
You know, it's honestly no choice. It's not like it's like you just move forward. You don't think about those things. You're like, okay, well, we're going to deal with this. And we're going to continue moving on. And, you know, we're going to hope for the best. I remember dropping her off at the surgery and it was 7 hours and I started bawling, like, because that was the moment when I realized, because it was very complicated surgery. This was the first moment that made me realize, what if I was wrong and my feeling internal was, and something will happen, you know? Mm-hmm. But still, it's not like, you know, you just continue, like you move forward. She recovered from the surgery. Then we weren't thinking about anything because for 7 days she couldn't walk. She needed to relearn all those things. So there's no moment to think about it. Only now looking back, like, wow, we went through some turmoil. But at the moment, you just like, hey, like we have to work it through. You have to learn how to eat. You have to learn how to walk. Like I remember bringing her home and she had a walker. It was just little baby steps towards, you know, and little goals. And that's it. You just move forward. You're not, and she wanted to go to school so bad, I remember. And they had a school trip to go to New York and Boston. She said, Mom, can I please go? I said, Alexis, you just had a surgery. You still have an open wound. You can't. But she's like, Mom, please, can you come with me? Like, maybe I can take a nurse with me. Like, you know, she was so happy she recovered. And when they told her that the tumor was benign, that I think especially at that moment, she just wanted to get back to normal life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it wasn't like anything. It's just now, like sometimes I know when I'm having a bad day, I go back mentally to those moments like, this was bad. Wake up. This is nothing.
Isn't it amazing how our kids are, I think, some of the best teachers I've had in my life? I mean, my boys are now 17 and 14, and I mean, they are the greatest teachers. Don't you think? I mean, your daughter clearly has taught you so much about yourself.
But, you know, there's one thing I actually want to point out because I do. So my son is 11. And I remember, actually, I feel like for him, it was the hardest time because we all were so focused on her that we just, neglected him in a sense because, you know, it's like I was always gone to the hospital. He was staying a lot with my mom. And of course, he was worried about her too, because we were not really talking to him because we didn't have time and he's so much younger. And what are we going to say? Your sister might have cancer. Like, does he even understand what it is? Like, why scare him? You know, that I remember. I wish I did things different with him, not to put him in through pain. And especially you have boys, you know what it is. Boys don't really talk.
Yeah, they're so different.
So different. They just closed in. But I feel it affected him in so many ways that, you know, I was so concentrated on my older one and her well-being that I kind of neglected, you know, my son. And you know, and it's also hard because I remember it was his birthday and he wanted to go trampoline. And the moment we walked in, he does the first jump and he lands wrong on his foot and we go into urgent care. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't have two kids in hospital. But I feel like it was an attention he wanted, you know, because I remember we were in urgent care. He's like, is dad going to come? And I'm like, no, he's not. Because, you know, and I was like, wow, that's such a strange question because when it's like, we're not together. It's my day, you know?
Right.
But it's because dad was there and mom was there for his sister. You know, and it's like, this is the only moments when I realized, you know, now looking back that he also wanted that. It's hard to explain a little kid why I'm sorry, I can't really be with you right now because you're still. And it was hard for him, maybe even more than all of us, because he couldn't understand what's going on. But he sees everybody so worried about his sister that, you know, I know he loves her and he worried about her. So that was, I think, very hard, you know, for him also. And it's hard to talk to boys because boys shut down right away. Everything is fine. Everything is great. You know, it's not like a girls, like we talked. And, you know, with my son, we're still going to maybe one day he would be more like we talk, but it's not the same.
Yeah, no, I totally feel you. I mean, my kids, I mean, it's one of the things that I think my divorce actually helped my boys around is learning that it is okay for them to have emotions about this. And, you know, I think that these unforeseen, you know, transitional moments that we go through that, you know, it's the universe's way of slowing us down and reprioritizing things in our life. I just think that, you know, what I always say is that it happens for us, right? It's not happening to us, it's happening for us. And I really commend everything that you have been through. And I mean, clearly, you know, what an incredible mother you are to both of your kids, but I mean, especially your daughter. I mean, just to have that kind of a mindset and for her to just be in that place of wanting to help others and to give back and for people to learn from her experience is just, I mean, it is such a true testament. Talk about leaving a legacy and having a vision for, you know, what you want to create in this world. It truly is an honor and pleasure to have spoken with you today. And thank you so much for being my guest. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Yes, of course. And you guys, everybody who tuned in. Oh, last thing. How can people find you? I want to make sure that I forgot this part. How can people find you and connect with you across, you know, social media?
They can connect with me on Instagram and it's Keni Silva, my name. Very easy.
Lovely. Well, you guys definitely connect and reach out. I know that you're an advocate as well for so many incredible causes. So you guys, please be sure to follow Keni. And thank you guys again for tuning into this week's episode. As you know, with every single one of my podcast episodes, my goal is to empower you to see what is possible in moments of pause, because what is on the other side is more beautiful than you could ever imagine. So thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to follow me on social media as well, Wendy Page Sterling. And I will see you guys in next week's episode. Sending you all love and light always. Mwah. Bye, everybody.
Bye.